How about this for a threat? If you guys don't strike a deal, we'll put you in a very cold freezer until you do. Is that how the crisis was averted on the West Coast after months of fighting between the Longshoremen's Union and the Pacific Maritime Association, which runs the 29 ports in California? This has been a 9-month-long contract standoff. It did end Friday. But will it be enough going forward to keep the two sides from feuding again? U.S. Secretary of Labor Tom Perez was the man who helped bring the two sides together. Secretary Perez, I'm not saying you gave that exact threat, but it's freezing on the East Coast. And you, in essence, as we understand it, went out there and said, if you guys can't make this happen in a couple of days, you have to come to Washington, D.C., the freezing East Coast, and deal with it there. I swear I believe it was the weather, because Californians hate what we have right now. There's a live picture outside 6th Avenue, 22 degrees. What was it like in those negotiations? How did you make it happen?
Well, we had very specific direction from the president, which was we've got to end this dispute. We've got to end it now because there are way too many innocent victims. And so my message was very clear. We either solve this challenge and bring it across the end zone this week in San Francisco, or next week we continue the discussion in Washington. And, you know, people, for some reason, they don't like coming to Washington. I can't figure that one out. So fortunately, on Friday evening, the parties were able to bring it across the end zone. And the unsung hero in this, really, Liz, was the federal mediator who has been there since the first of the year. And when he got there, they were on their own 25-yard line, and he brought them all the way down. So it was first and goal at the 8 when I got there. And we had one big issue left, and we were able to put it to rest, and then everything else came together in short order.
Was that one big issue, mediating workplace disputes? There was some confusion as to what was the big holdup. I couldn't believe it wasn't money. They had already come together on money, correct?
No, they came together on a host of really big issues with the help of the mediator: wages, health benefits, pensions, and the like. The main remaining issue was, as you said, the arbitration system. And listeners may wonder, well, that seems like an odd issue to tie them up. The day-to-day functioning of the ports is dependent on the ability to adjudicate issues that come up day to day, like safety issues, et cetera. Time is money. If you shut down your workplace for a day or two because something happened, that's bad news. And so you need a good functioning arbitration system. And what they came up with is a dramatic transformation and improvement. They didn't just reach middle ground, they actually got to higher ground, and I think that will be very helpful for the effective functioning of the 29 ports up and down the West Coast.
Secretary Perez, why didn't you go out there earlier? We brought this up in November. I'm not saying, oh, aren't we so great, but we could foresee as we headed into Black Friday and Thanksgiving that this was dragging on. And, you said we're hoping, and the mediator eventually went out. Why not invoke something like the Taft-Hartley Act, which enables the president to say, okay, this has got to stop because it's actually hurting the nation? We're now hearing that gross domestic product could be shaved by 1% because of this fight.
Well, a couple things. First of all, Taft-Hartley, we would have been thrown out of court in a New York minute.
Why?
Taft-Hartley, the first requirement is that you either have a strike or a lockout. There was neither a strike or a lockout. So that's kind of game, set, and match on Taft-Hartley and its application. And so I'm a big believer in the collective bargaining process. They were making progress. And then when the mediator came in, they dramatically picked up the pace of their progress. But in the end, they weren't making enough progress on this remaining issue. And we were having daily communications. And when we made that judgment that they had truly reached impasse and they were stuck at first and goal at the 8-yard line, that's when we came out. And again, I think it was an agreement that was good for both sides. We crossed the end zone, but nobody's spiking the football because there was a lot of collateral damage. The rotting citrus at the port, the farmers that I talked to, the retailers that I talked to, the small and large business owners, the ripple effect extended far beyond the ports themselves.
Well, look, it will be a different administration in 5 years when this current contract expires. But how do we avoid this kind of insanity again?
Well, I think they need to start earlier, for one thing. And they need to understand, people often ask, and your question is a very logical question about Taft-Hartley. But the biggest threat is not Taft-Hartley. The biggest threat is market forces. The Panama Canal is being widened. Mexico's contemplating a port with rail connection to Texas. Vancouver had their best year ever last year, and they're poised to exceed that this year. I did not get a call, Liz, from the mayor of Savannah, Georgia, because they were loving life with the extended business. And so, as I said to them, you've now restored full operations to the ports, but what is equally important is to restore confidence in the West Coast ports, and that's what you got to do.
We don't want to lose business to other nations. That is a real problem. We thank you, Secretary Perez, for coming on to clarify exactly what happened, and we'll be watching the next 5 years and hope this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely.
Secretary Tom Perez from D.C., thank you.